So you think the menorah was put in the Nea?
I suspect it was.
Now, do you think the treasure that Belisarius captured was the authentic treasure, or was it just kind of,
well,
because a lot of people at this time were saying this or that is a relic, and
well,
I mean, it's possible it was the authentic, but
the story is that from Josephus is that the veil and the master scrolls from the temple were kept in the emperor's palace in Rome, but the other stuff went to the Temple of Peace.
right,
And then the minor stuff was melted down, and the gold was used to build the Colosseum.
right,
But they kept the menorah, they kept the temple, they kept the table, they kept the silver trumpets. And then the story is that when the Vandals took Rome, they took the temple treasure together with emeralds and gold as well, and they took it to Carthage.
right.
Belisarius brought it back to Constantinople, still the same three things named. And the Jewish seer says, "Oh, don't keep that here," and he gets rid of it. And the rest of the story is that the two scrolls were handed back to the Jewish community at the end of the 3rd century, apparently. And the story is that the veil, the temple veil, was given to the Christian community. And it's an extraordinary thing, but there's a sort of intermittent witness to the veil having been in the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, because the last account of a visit to the Hagia Sophia before the Fourth Crusade, when everything was wrecked, is a pilgrim book from Bishop Anthony of Novgorod. So it's an old Slavonic, and he visited in 1200, something like that, and he said he saw the veil in a great silver reliquary hung over the high altar of the Hagia Sophia. Oh, you can imagine that sort of being taken away. Now, that might have been just an empty box, and people were told that's what it was, but certainly the temple treasure, they sort of kept thinking. The scrolls that went back to the Jewish community, they were the ones that were entrusted to Rabbi Meir. He noticed the different readings, which of course interests me because it shows that after the destruction of the temple, the Torah scrolls were altered. All sorts of things were removed. Rabbi Meir's readings are very interesting. So we kind of look at that, but it looks as though the table and the candlestick, and those were particularly associated with Mary, the cult of Mary in the early church. They go and then they come back, and this big church built, biggest of all Justinian's churches, dedicated to the Mother of God. Just the time when he's bringing those churches back. It's an interesting coincidence.
It really is.
It's a very interesting coincidence. And the one of the tragedies of the war in Greece, between Greece and Turkey in the early 1920s, was that one of the great monastery libraries at Smyrna got burnt. And one of the things that got burnt was this amazing illuminated manuscript from very, very early on. And it's, fortunately, a German had photographed it, only black and white photographs or brown and white photographs 30 years previously, so there are photographs of the manuscript. The actual manuscript is gone. And it illustrates, it's got all the various temple treasures, the menorah, the table, all these things, and they are all associated with Mary. So from a period maybe only 200 years after the Nea, you've got these illustrations of Mary with, you see Mary kind of sitting on top of the menorah, Mary hovering over the ark, Mary presiding at the table of the showbread, all these things. The Smyrna Codex is called, which I say exists in black and white, brown and white photographs now. But these things were associated with Mary. Now, the temple is associated with Mary. Mm-hmm. Was the first temple associated with Mary? Was the first temple associated with a female figure? It's very interesting. Who was the daughter of Zion, in other words? Was she just a metaphor? Mm-hmm. You see, they talk about the hill of the daughter of Zion, and people say, oh, it's just a metaphor. Hill of the Lord, oh, well, no, the Lord's not a metaphor. What are we dealing with? Yeah, and it's how you read the text, isn't it? Who is the daughter of Zion? She goes outside the hill, she goes outside the city, gasping because her enemies are after her and all the rest of it. And then the prophecy in Micah is that she will return. She will return to the tower of the flock, and she will become the mother of the great shepherd of Israel. And Justinian's temple was built like a great tower. dominating dominating the valley. There's just so many things, and you look at them and you say, well, they might all be coincidence, but they might not. Now that's no basis for scholarship, but it's quite interesting. And I do wonder what Justinian and his advisors knew that we don't know about the location of the temple. And, how will your archaeologist friends find anything to...
Well, they're digging there now.
I mean, the whole question of how you can reconstruct Solomon's temple, it's not just a kind of a bricks and mortar thing or a stones and wood thing. It's actually a cultural memory. That's what's so important. All the mystical texts that we've got describe the Holy of Holies as it was in Solomon's temple, not as it was in the second temple.
Yeah.
The empty Holy of Holies. Now, have they all got an entirely false cultural memory? I don't think that's possible. They all remember, the throne and the priests who, the angels in the visions and all the rest of it, and the angel priesthood and all these things. Where was that physically situated? There's got to have been something.
Yeah.
What was it? Where was it? And it's very difficult. We've got to try and get through the filter of all the later editing, and I'm sure some of those scribes are half asleep at the end of their shift, and so you've got dodgy words creeping in, and you think, oh, that's interesting spelling. But deep down, there was something there. And this is a cultural icon. It's shaped our pictures of the Garden of Eden. It's shaped our pictures of what it means to be a human being.
Yeah.
Because Adam is the great high priest. And everything that happened within that setting, for better or worse, has shaped the Western world's idea of what it means to be human. And that is a huge thing to discover. Now, if you actually discover a few bits of stone or whatever it is and say, here is where these old priests dreamed up this vision, that's fine. People go there and look and say, wow, this is where it happened. But what we've really got to hold on to is the vision that was granted to them that had actually shaped Western civilization. We're in danger of losing it.
Yeah.
We are in danger of losing that completely. And human beings, we're no longer, the image of God. We're consumers, aren't we, in the great economic machine. That's desperate.